Marcellus Wiley, joined now by Tom Verducci. Oh, we about to talk some baseball. Let's get right to it, Tom. Reports say that MLB and Players Union are closing in on a deal. What's the latest you're hearing?
Well, there's no deal yet. The union is studying the proposal from the owners right now, but everything right now looks like it's heading in the right direction. The union could still come back with one final counter proposal, but it looks to me now that the owners came forward with a deal designed to reach a settlement. We've gone back and forth with proposals from different sides that to me seem like proposals designed to win the negotiations. This time we've got one finally where there's give and take, and most importantly of all, Marcellus, is the deadline, the artificial deadline of getting something together to save the season. Essentially, they were up against it, and there was actually a face-to-face meeting between Rob Manfred and Tony Clark. And after tense negotiations being done essentially electronically with emails going back and forth, to me, this is the way you get something done. You look somebody in the eye and say, let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah, you humanize the issues. You have a different look at those same issues once you humanize them. I love that. But what was the biggest obstacle between both sides?
Well, it started out with the players insisting that they would not take anything, what they called a second pay cut. In other words, they agreed to take salaries on a prorated basis based on the number of games played, 100% of their salaries divided by games played. The owners have tried to get that number down, that 100%. The owners came back and said, all right, we'll give you that 100%. So what did the owners get? They get control of the calendar because the players wanted more games to push the postseason into November, like deep into November. We're talking Thanksgiving baseball. And the owners didn't want that. They're really worried about a second surge of the coronavirus, which would threaten the postseason. And there's $1 billion of TV money tied up in the postseason. So the owners are able to keep the schedule they want. Regular season ends on September 27th. The World Series will be over by November 1st. So the owners get what they want in terms of the calendar. Players get what they want in terms of pay. And I can tell you this, both sides got the expanded postseason they want, right? 8 teams in each league, 16 in all, going to the postseason. That means for the players, you've got more players can take part in postseason baseball. And for the owners, that means you've got more money coming in because they can already sell and have sold more inventory of postseason games because the first round now is going to be a best out of 3 or best out of 5 instead of just the wild card. So more money coming in to offset the losses from postseason games.
Okay, so walk with me through this. You're approaching the deadline, so obviously you're going to have a different sense of urgency. You humanize the negotiation by actually talking face-to-face. But why couldn't things have worked out differently a couple weeks ago?
I think there was a lot of posturing going on here. I think the history between these two sides came into play. Let's face it, the last CBA probably was more owner-friendly than player-friendly. And I think essentially we go back to that 100% prorated stance that players took. They took that line in the sand really early, Marcellus, and they were just not giving up on that. So the owners kept coming back with proposals that went absolutely nowhere. So now as the clock was ticking down, not much time left on the clock to salvage a season, I think both sides realized it's important that baseball get back on the field. Neither side wanted to be looking at a 17-month period without a Major League Baseball game being played. So I've said this all along. That's the biggest motivation of all to get a deal done. You cannot let 17 months go by with your sport out of sight and out of mind, whether you're an owner or a player.
Yeah, Tom, it's not just that baseball's been gone and missing, absent from our experience. It's been filled with a ton of negative publicity. So how difficult will it be for baseball to rebuild their reputation?
I actually don't think it's going to be that difficult, and I'll tell you why. This is going to be a season unlike anything that we've seen. If it's 60 games, if, say, the players come back and want 65 or 70, let's say 60 to 70 games. That means we've got a pennant race from Jump Street. From day one of the season, man, there is urgency. People complain the season's too long, that too many meaningless games. There are no meaningless games now. And with 8 teams in each league going to the playoffs, it's going to be a scramble to see who gets in. I mean, it's hard to get yourself eliminated with 8 teams going in a 60-game season. So I think you're talking about September, where virtually every game on an individual night will have playoff implications. So I've always thought, Marcellus, that once baseball gets back on the field, the narrative changes, that Tony Clark and Rob Manfred fade into the background, and players and pennant races become the narrative. And I think we're getting really close to that point.
Okay, I'm putting Tom Verducci on the hot seat June 17th, right now. How confident is Tom Verducci we'll see baseball this year?
Well, I guess I shouldn't say 100% after the commissioner walked that back when he took that stance last week. But
right.
Listen, from back in March, man, I've been optimistic that there will be baseball again because the downside's too big. That, to me, was driving this whole thing. It took, too many wrong turns to get here to this point. But I do think I'm confident that we will have a baseball season. And to me, I know it's not quote unquote legitimate. It's not 162 games. But I can tell you this, it's going to be exciting because it's a short season. And I'm looking forward to that.
All right, Tom, next time we have you on, let's talk baseball, not negotiations. Looking forward to that.